away, buddy. We're here to
Jimmy's
talk
already.
basketball.
I didn't realize we were alive.
He's already in his bag.
I'm in my bag like Curry, baby. I'm in my bag like Curry tonight.
How's that working?
Miss you, buddy.
Actually, what's funny is I was looking at some. It was an athletic article that showed some clips from the limited Jabari Parker action tonight, and it was Drapes on the call on the Sacramento broadcast.
Love it.
And Parker goes behind the back and into the lane, and Drapes goes, Parker in his bag or something. And then
That sounds like something Drapes would say.
And then he got like stripped, because he was moving in slow motion.
Because he definitely wasn't in his bag, right?
He was in
And then they waved him. And then they said bye-bye, Jabari.
That was
Exactly.
that was a rare Jabari Parker clip from this season. There weren't many of them.
Right. In order to study all the Jabari Parker film from the season, you had to watch 7 minutes of film, I think.
No, just watch this game. That's it.
Did you get the all positive, Jimmy, last night?
Yeah. Do you guys want to start talking Parker, or do you want to?
No, first.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
That's classic us, right?
Because I will, but
let's intro everything.
Sure.
Okay. Well, Celtics win their sixth straight.
Six straight.
Yep.
We're going streaking.
Well, we're all winners tonight because this
Like
was
Jordan did, right?
This was fun. When was the last game this fun?
It's been a while.
None
It's
this
been a really
season.
long time.
Not this
Maybe
season,
opening
right?
night.
This was a
Maybe
fun
opening
game,
night.
and I'll tell you why. Aside from the fact that both teams are going back and forth, Steph Curry, when he is on, is the most fun player to watch, and I don't even think it's close. I
It's
don't
like
think it's close.
2015 again.
I mean,
I don't think it's
That's a good
this
point.
Steph Curry might be better than MVP Steph Curry. I mean, think about this.
That's what he says.
And I believe it. I mean, think about this. I mean, did you see the severity of that ankle roll?
Ooh,
I couldn't
think he's
believe
still-
he
he
had
never-
another
he-
three after that.
What's that?
I couldn't believe he had another three after that. I thought he was done for the night.
that wasn't
Right.
just any three. I mean, that was dirty. I mean,
That was dirty.
That was. I mean, he had a hand. It's still a hand in his face, and he still hit that corner three. I mean, we're gonna find out. That ankle's swelling up
Yeah.
badly. I mean, I'm sure of it. I am a doctor, and I'm sure that is swelling
Yep.
up. I mean, he was
Yo, one of
taking. I
these
think he was
days,
taking
man.
Tylenol on the sidelines.
Jimmy,
think
one
it
of these days, I need to see a receipt. I need to see a degree, something with this.
Well, I'm a
doctor.
dentist, but technically a
He
doctor.
didn't say what type of doctor.
Yeah,
True.
But
I'm a
seriously,
chiropractor.
between Curry, Tatum, you had like a Neek Bird showdown here. Like it was awesome. So
Right.
obviously you've got that going on. You've got friggin' Jimmy Toscano flying into the stands. You got
I'm back.
You got Jabari Parker, who was auditioning for a spot in the Big Three League, in the 3-on-3 league,
And had a very important role.
playing fourth quarter minutes and playing a huge role. Sherrod and I were talking about this prior to the broadcast. Bye, Grant. But
Grant, but also
Grant got his minutes.
Also, he could thank Bobby's boy Luke Cornett for that shit. For that garbage defense he was playing in the first half. If Brad went back to him in the second half, I was gonna start the show calling out Brad Stevens no matter what happened.
Well, again,
Luke's a good pick and roll defender, but not the Curry pick and roll.
no.
No one is a good
or the
Curry pick and roll
Toscano,
defender.
or the Poole, excuse me.
Poole
Yeah.
had a good first
no.
half.
Poole was
guys
peeling
were
the
contributing.
Celtics up all game
Yo,
long.
Ken Bazemore gave your boy the business.
Yep. Wiggins had an awesome game.
All right,
That team came to play.
enough. We're just running through the bums of the Warriors right now.
Wiggins
No, I
plays,
just wanted.
Wiggins plays some good defense, by the way.
Cornett,
Yeah.
trying to stay up with those guys.
Until Kemba
I'm here
Walker
for that.
gave it
I'm
to
here
him.
for that for sure.
Yeah.
That was Kemba Walker, UConn Big East championship against Pittsburgh. That
John
dagger he
earmuffs.
said.
Earmuff.
This was a big night for
He was
Kemba
good,
Walker.
man.
This
You
was a
got to give it up to
borderline-
Kemba. Kemba was really good tonight. Really good.
This was
Kemba
a good
was
night for
Kemba
Kemba
was
and a
great
bad
tonight.
night for John. Very
I
bad night.
like Kemba Walker. I
Kemba
am
saved the
worried.
game.
I am worried about Kemba Walker long term. That's it. I like Kemba Walker.
It was a bad night for your worries.
Yeah, I like Kemba. Kemba was awesome. Especially, when you needed it too. Like he had a pretty nondescript first half, and then he just comes out bang bang early third, and then kind of goes cold again, and then bang bang again in the fourth. And that's what I mean, that's who he is. He's a guy who gets hot fast. I mean, he's a huge part of that run, and being able to not take over, but get back into the game and then build that lead. And then at the end there, I mean, that last possession, that three that he hit, the dagger three, that was a terrible possession by the Celtics. They were trying so hard to get it to Tatum up high, and they couldn't. And Kemba's like, F it, and boom,
They
just
ran out of
dropped it.
time.
And that's
He
it.
needed to do it.
He had to do it, and he did it. I mean, there was no other option at that point. They couldn't get the play they wanted. Credit Golden State, but phenomenal by Kemba.
Yeah, but see, that sort of play is what opens things up for guys like Tatum. For someone like Marcus Smart, I mean, people can say what they want about him taking open shots, but he had all the time in the world to drain that three, and he did it.
Yo,
I mean,
I'm waiting for the memes on that one, man. Because I mean
the fit. Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, he was just there, like looking at the ball, checking his watch, go take a shower, come back.
Going through
Warriors were all over the
he had
place.
all the time to just take that. But again, like the opportunity of that is what Kemba Walker, like that's what Kemba does when he's doing that blend of attacking the rim, of course, and draining down that 3-point shot. When he's got that going, he's a constant threat, which has opposing defenses on their heels, and at the same time they're trying to keep up with him.
Well, let's not forget that Kemba Walker, they not only was he, I think, more impactful, they absolutely needed him to be that with Jaylen Brown out. So to me, the next level for this team is to play really good teams where all your guys are available and clicking like this. Because what we've seen more times than not is when they have those three guys, and I'm talking about Tatum, Brown, and Kemba all available, usually one of the three isn't quite impactful as the other two. And a lot of times it's Kemba. So it was really good to see that Kemba still had that ability in his bag. And Golden State, I thought they were trying to take advantage of the size mismatch early on, just like the Celtics were trying to do the same thing with Steph. And then they just kind of went away from it, which I thought was weird. When Steph when he rolled his ankle, I was hoping that the Celtics would try to get more pick and roll action with Steph so you can get that switch where Tatum will be matched up against Steph, and then he could go at him. But they didn't do that.
Right.
Because they were basically kind of chilling. I mean, Grant Williams was out there, and they weren't really defending Grant. I'm just going to put it nicely like this. They really weren't giving him the kind of attention
over there.
He was comfortable.
They were okay with his offense.
Yeah.
Grant Williams airballed the ball 2 feet short from 6 feet out today.
It's too bad too, because
that's hard to do.
I think he had 18 points last time they played Golden State. I thought this would be a good matchup for him on the offensive end.
You thought this was a good Grant game?
I didn't.
No, I thought it was a good matchup.
You thought heading in, it was going to be a good Grant game.
They should have used him at the 5 more and done some of those lineups, and they ended up doing it late, but it was way too late with that stuff.
When I saw that Jabari was going to be active, there was no way Grant was going to have a good night because Jabari did exactly what Jabari always does. He's going to get buckets. But you remember the first 68 seconds, he had 2 turnovers. One of them was just a bad pass.
One was a bad low pass. Yeah. That's a hard first touch for him. They just rolled it at his ankles,
Exactly. And so I'm thinking that, you know what?
I hate when that happens.
The Jabari we saw in the first 68 seconds, I'm thinking there's no way in hell that this is going to last. He's going to just start getting the ball in better position and making guys pay. And that's exactly what he did.
Yo, real quick, shout out to Scotland, it looks like. 4 a.m., 4:15 a.m. They're tuned in over there.
Wow.
They just tweeted out a picture of us on his flat screen.
Wow.
Jeez, what is that
That's
thing?
love.
55-inch, 60-inch? That's a huge TV.
Saturday night, right? In Scotland, or is
That's
it
what's up. He's tuned in on the big
early
screen.
Sunday.
Appreciate it.
That's love, man.
One thing
But
I want to mention.
real quick, Jimmy, we have to mention, I mean, everybody knows this because they watched it, but, just great game. And obviously you work in Parker and you have the heroics by Tatum. But again, I mean, we talk about how razor thin the Celtics are. You just beat a good Golden State team that played really, really well without 3 of your top 6 players. That's
and you went down 15. They look dead down 15.
No Jaylen, no Williams. You're down 2 starters and your 6th man, and you won this game. So credit to the Celtics. We don't kill them. We're realistic that they've been thin. All year, and they lose one guy and they seem doomed. They're down 3 guys today and managed to win. That's a big deal for them.
And I thought Brad Stevens had one of his better coaching moments in the fourth quarter when he decided the challenge was good, but the decision to take Grant out and put Jabari back in, it forced Golden State to actually defend all 5 guys. And I thought that was huge for guys down the stretch. Jabari Parker is going to be is a difference maker for this team. You got to respect him at one end of the floor, and I can't say that for a lot of the guys on that bench, where you have to respect them at one end of the floor, whether it's offense or defense. He's going to be a really good fit for this team as long as they can just keep. When Robert Williams is back, for example, and they have a rim protector, I think you're really going to see Jabari Parker shine with this group.
Yeah,
Because if you
point.
because Jabari Parker, I mean, that easy pass defense that he plays, it's alive and well. Guys are going to get by him with ease, but he's such a damn good scorer.
Yeah. I just think it makes everything easier for that front court. I mean, now you have that dynamic of you put him alongside, Tristan Thompson, like for options, right? Tristan Thompson, Robert Williams at that 5 position. So many different things you could do. Then Brad doesn't necessarily have to be so worried about what he gets out of Grant Williams. He doesn't have to be forced to put Grant.
Nor should anyone be. Yeah.
Well,
right.
Because
you get what I'm saying, right? Like he doesn't have to because of his flexibility and because he has another guy that could put in there. Like I said in the group chat, I'm like, man, if I'm Grant Williams, I'm a little nervous about my minutes right now. Even before I sent that before the game even started. Like
Jimmy, stop eating,
the flexibility that Jabari provides on both ends of the floor.
I'm not eating.
I hear your freaking rappers, dude.
Grant's in trouble if he doesn't
I'm not doing anything.
If he doesn't differentiate himself from the rest of the pack, from the rest of the group, he's in trouble with his playing time.
That post up move. Fine, he had 2 cleanup offensive rebounds to get his first couple of buckets. Then, got fouled on a kind of ugly looking drive. So his early points were kind of ugly, but that post up move was sexy as hell.
Yeah.
And
that was when he backed him down and
backed him down in a little turnaround. That was a scorer's move, and that's the first thing that got me up off my seat. Because like I said, the first couple were garbage, like I said, cleanups, and then the free throws there, but that move was sexy.
That got you up out your seat. That's a John play to get you out your seat.
No, but I was
easy,
like,
John,
easy.
He was like, yo.
No, because you want to see something that looks, what is
like
it that made
this
guy?
You've been waiting to see Tristan Thompson do that all year.
Well,
no, but
here's the thing, and
what is it that made him?
We're not waiting for that.
What is it that made him appealing, right? That his ability to score. This is a guy coming out that's supposed to be a scorer, and we've seen he's done it at the NBA level. And just to be cast aside, for nothing, and nobody even thought about signing him, just makes you wonder, like, what is it there? So yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. We talked about it yesterday briefly. It's like, wait, why was he not in the league? Like, is he injured? Is he coming back from something? What is keeping this guy from being in the NBA right now?
Right.
And, it's kind of baffling to answer that question. I can't figure out why he didn't play at all this season for the Kings. I know in the last few seasons or the last couple seasons, he's just bounced around from shitty team to shitty team. And I know his career couldn't have started off worse, torn ACL. He ends up, somehow he ends up on the Bulls like during the Boylan era, and we all know how that went for everybody on that team. He goes to DC, where it's just another bad situation. And then to Sacramento, which is one of the worst NBA situations a player can find themselves in, generally speaking, over the last 20 years. So this guy has just had shit luck ever since he entered the NBA. And I loved what Brad Stevens said today. It kind of goes in line with what I was thinking, is that, sometimes it just takes a different sort of a new beginning, a different scenery. Brad Stevens didn't say this, but he alluded to the fact where they think that they can sort of tap into something that Parker has in him that, he hasn't been able to show. And I compare it a little bit to the Evan Turner situation when, the Celtics bought really low on Evan Turner on a 2-year deal. And he came into Boston, turned into a fan favorite, and turned that into a massive deal in Portland. And you can say whatever you want about that deal and how that ended up for them. But the point is, Evan Turner came to Boston as sort of like a former top prospect who didn't really seem to reach his potential, and then left Boston as a coveted free agent. Will Parker end up to that level? I don't know, but certainly he's showing that he has the talent to be in the NBA and to play on an NBA team. And I think him being in a good surrounding, a good organization like the Celtics can do so much for a player. So many players will tell you, like, they just need to be in the right situation. They just need the opportunity. And so many good NBA players, I think, over the years have probably not been able to tap into their potential because of circumstance and situation more than anything else, not because they're not good enough.
Well, it's about the role. I mean,
Right.
on those other teams that you talked about, they expected him to be more impactful. Whereas the Celtics, they want him to come off the bench, get some buckets, and do
That's the
not
key, yeah.
allow us to be destroyed. That's the key to this working out, is him understanding the role that he is going to be asked to play. And to be candid with you, what they need from him is exactly what he does well. They need someone to come off that bench who can score. This is the second to worst offensive scoring bench in the entire NBA. And now you got a guy who basically, if there's one discernible skill he has, it's the ability to score. And if you're coming off the bench, if you are a non-starter, the teams that have the best non-starters, those guys typically have one skill that sets them apart from everything else, like whether it's great energy guy, a great scorer, elite defender, something that justifies why the hell you are on an NBA roster. With Jabari, it's the fact that he can score like very few guys in this league. That post up move that he had that John was talking about earlier, that was sweet. I mean, you look at this roster, other than Tatum, maybe Jaylen, that's about it for guys who you could see pulling that move off. And he did that with what? No practice, but nothing but a walkthrough. And remember, he's only 26 years old.
Only 26.
So it's not like you're dealing with a guy who doesn't. Exactly. I mean, to me, there are far more positives about this. And let's be real. You're getting significant bang for your buck. You did not open up the vault to get this guy. Yeah. And so again, there's a lot of positives that you can take away from Jabari.
We said this last game, Sherrod, and I can't believe it happened so quickly. Cut Mo. Get Mo out of here. He's terrible.
Cut him, though. That's it.
He has no role. Well, yeah, I didn't expect Jabari.
I'm not going to say through the door, but I'm not going to say his name.
Bobby said that's one guy ahead of. That's someone that could be in the way of Cornette. I need him out of here.
I got a direct line to Danny, and we just sent the show off to him. And we're like, Danny, we're done with Mo.
That's true. But
no Mo.
We're done.
So Josue said this, and I'll let him get a little deep into it, but that 5 impact. He didn't play a ton of 5 tonight, but that's the kind of impact he's going to have on this team, because when you think of Rob, Cornette, whoever they have at center there, Tristan even, who hasn't shown touch inside all year, that's what Parker brings to the table. A lot of his work's going to be in the post area. It's going to be short turnarounds, 12-foot jumpers, and that's a role that he's comfortable in. So there's all this talk of him displacing Romeo or displacing Grant. I still think it's going to be sort of a matchup thing when it comes to those three. But there are matchups like this one. When I saw Brown was out, I knew Parker was going to be massively involved against this team, especially that just doesn't have a ton of interior resistance or defensive pushback. You were going to be able to get some bench points from this guy. I almost think of him like a Cantor type, because it's going to be that bad on defense, but his touch around the rim is going to make up for it a little bit too. So I'm not going crazy about it, but it's way better than Mo.
It might be. He got blown by on the baseline there that one time,
bad.
It's so bad.
His stance isn't great.
He jumped out, and it was like boom.
He ended up
and they were talking about during the broadcast. They were talking about how he sometimes struggles on closeouts. I'm like, sometimes.
He went out there and it was jump stop, and the guy just walked right around him.
I think his last play in Sacramento was like getting dunked on in a massive way. I think that was
we
like
don't
the
talk
last play
about
before
that,
he got
Bobby.
cut.
Come on, Bobby.
When I saw that, I said, man, that's going to be it.
No. I think Bobby, there's some truth to that, because a lot of what people were saying was that he didn't play after that game. That was his very last play.
Yeah, he got shut down.
Yeah, he got shut down.
I will say it looked like he got caught in a switch late in the fourth quarter, and he's like staring at Curry. And I think he was like, "Oh God!" And then Curry just blew right. And he was like, "You're probably wondering how I got here."
Is that you, Jabari?
Yeah.
Wow, though. I mean, half a month for Curry, averaging 40. That's just unreal.
Real quick before we go on to Curry and Tatum, and I still think there's plenty of meat on this bone with Jabari, because there's a lot to talk about, because it is very intriguing. This is the time where I mentioned locker room, because everyone's going to get mad, and John, shut up, stop talking about it. Well, it's our sponsor.
Sure. Someone just invited me into a room right now, actually.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Why don't you go?
Yeah, cool. Sure.
Then go already.
Was inviting me to the room.
We're gonna jump on there for a chat afterwards. We've been doing this. We had really good numbers and good participation at 2 and 3 a.m. from the West Coast games. Everyone's
thank God that's over.
It must have been a weird group.
Oh, they were fun, man. We had a lot of
late night guys. I don't know.
I could hear the birds chirping when I was hitting the pillow.
Yeah.
Nice.
A lot of Australia and Indonesia in the chat. Getting off work,
true.
5 o'clock, drinking. But we're going to jump in there after. Download the app on the iOS store. It's not available on Android yet, but you can get it. Download it. We're going to put a link in the chat. Join us afterwards. We're all going to be there talking about this game and a bunch of other things. There's so much to talk about. We're going to do a lot of it here, but we're going to take a lot of the conversation over. So, guys, you want to stay? You want to stay on Parker a little while longer?
We can circle back if you want. If you want to go
one last thing. What I love so much about the signing is, of course, you get help at the 4 and 5 position, which the Celtics desperately need. But also, he's always been efficient. Sherrod talked about how good of a scorer he is, or at least how good of a secondary scorer he is for this Celtics team. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, he seeks high percentage shots, and of course, he does it at an efficient rate. I mean, yeah, we're talking about a few years removed for some of his best seasons, but regardless, that's always been part of his game, is being efficient. He doesn't need a whole lot of touches to put up points, and I think that's significant for the second unit. Of course, it's thin. It's gonna be mix and match. We saw a lot of that against the Warriors. Tatum played 40 minutes tonight. Other guys, Brad Stevens is approaching every game as he should, as if it's almost like a playoff game. With his rotations, with the starting unit, and mixing and matching them with that second unit. So he blends in perfectly. He looked like one of those guys that like the last guy to be added to the pickup game, and no one's not quite sure. He's sort of a wild card. And then 3 minutes in, you're like, oh no, this dude can ball. Like that's what it was like out there for him, where he's not 100%, obviously, up to par with everything that the Celtics do in the system, but he was able to blend right in off of pure sheer talent.
Well, I'm sure that the message to him before he went out there was, Jabari, do what you do. Go get buckets. I mean, we're not going to put in a scheme that's going to allow you to all of a sudden become Marcus Smart 2.0 defensively. That's not happening. But what you can do is you can make plays offensively. You can get offensive rebounds. You can make your presence felt. You can force Golden State to respect you at the offensive end of the floor, which, again, I thought that was huge for them, in the fourth quarter when Brad made that switch where he took Grant out and put Jabari in, because at that point, Golden State, they figured, okay, we got to worry about Tatum. We got to worry about Kemba, a little bit of Marcus Smart, Grant who? But when you take him out, and then you bring in Jabari, different story.
Well, it was so stunning that they did it, not only just because of the timing of it, because Parker had been available for so long, but at the same time, the Celtics haven't let guys go in recent years to try out different guys who might be floating around. John talks about this all the time, giving some of these other prospects that haven't worked in other places chances here, try to put them in better positions to succeed. They haven't done much of that at all since like the early Stevens days. So to see them let Mo go because Mo just had no place on this team at all, it was so refreshing. And again, I'm not expecting a ton from him, but it's
I would love to be refreshed by
rest.
some other releases too. Like I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be too upset.
I bet you would.
I was surprised Jimmy let that go for that long.
Pause. Listen, I want to say one thing before we get off Parker. Are we getting off Parker, or are we staying?
We should be, but if you got one last,
I want to think is right. Yeah.
Well, I think he passed my YouTube test. I watched 3 YouTube videos, as I do for every
YouTube test.
I love it.
My
no,
YouTube
he does the all
reel.
good tapes, the
my
highlight
YouTube
reel.
highlight reel test, and I would say that Jabari Parker passed it for the role that he needs to be in. I saw a lot of drives. I saw a lot of dunks, put back dunks.
Jimmy treats him like a high school prospect.
Exactly. A guy, a big body. I think a versatile type player. And then I got people on my mention saying, "Oh, he doesn't play defense. He's like the worst defender in the NBA." Because I said he was Aaron Gordon 2.0. Listen,
you did?
Yeah,
you said
I did.
that.
Well,
he's on his canter.
I was obviously like half joking.
Drunk? Obviously drunk. Want me to throw that shit?
Listen. This is what I do. Listen, you have to understand. I'm coming off of 3 straight YouTube highlight reels. So yeah, he looks like Aaron Gordon 2.0 right when I get off those YouTube highlight reels.
They gotta add
the
some
YouTube
videos.
Highlight reel tests. That's part of the test.
They gotta put some YouTube videos.
We need to get you some new tests, Jimmy.
And guess what, everybody? Like they don't show you like defensive stops on the YouTube highlight reel. Like that's just not what they're doing. So everyone,
which is why you shouldn't get drunk off that, Jimmy, because you know that there's a part of his game that they're not showing you.
Right.
There's a reason why.
That's not part of the curriculum.
How old were these, Jimmy? Though
High school.
They were relatively They were
2014,
relatively new. They were,
2015.
Because right now, at this moment, athletically, he looks more 46 than 26.
It was
yeah,
around
I
the time
noticed he
Bobby
was a little
still
bit
going
slower
to,
than
going to
the
homeroom
highlight
and
reels
shit.
would show. I mean, I don't
Social
think
studies.
there's a ton of highlights from tonight's game that would make the next reel, but it just goes to show he's got that offensive
Well,
game.
it's great that in his first game he got a matchup and a situation, frankly, with Brown out that he was going to be able to succeed in. We'll see.
They're like, I trust me. There's people like Aaron Gordon 2.0. He doesn't play defense. I'm like,
True, I
relax,
said, you
buddy.
said that?
I'm not breaking down his defensive film right now. I'm watching his YouTube highlight reel. That's how I
can
rate
tell you
my,
right now, Jimmy, you got to
rate my
send me that
players.
video because I've never seen him come anywhere close to playing above the rim the way Aaron Gordon does. Forget
No,
about defense.
He's always been considered.
Throwing down some thunderous dunks
Okay.
in the reels that I
All
saw.
right, so we are going
he's a good offensive player.
We are going to
cut.
We're going to cut Jimmy off from Jabari Parker for a little while.
Yeah, I thought
just-
that segment was done. I thought the Jabari thing was done.
It's done now because I
Good move though. I mean, Danny
I put the
Ainge,
cherry on top of it. Is what I did.
he caught a lot of flack coming in this year, rightfully so, and he's made a few moves here to set this thing straight. It's been a nice series of adjustments throughout this second and third quarter of the season for him.
Yeah, I mean, Danny has had some checkmate moves when it looked like he was playing checkers for a while there. When you look at the guys that he's kind of brought into the fold, how they fit with this team and the narrative that they want going forward. And to me, like I said, you look at right now their team, they've got a number of guys that can get buckets with that first group. So you really don't have to worry about those guys in terms of what they can be offensively. But what about the bench? You got Fournier, who hopefully he'll be playing sometime soon. You got Parker. You know, you've got Tristan Thompson, who, again, I think Tristan Thompson is rounding into shape and is going to be someone that they can rely on to give them that interior presence. He's not going to lock people down, but I do think he's going to be a good, useful body for them. And now all of a sudden, you got a team that out of the first round, absolutely. Can you compete in this next round? Without a doubt. Beyond that, I have no idea. But at least you've got pieces in place now where you don't look like a one-and-out squad.
Yeah.
Is he the biggest reason?
Wow, Sherrod thinks they're going to the second round. You heard it here first.
Well, Sherrod, is he the biggest reason?
Well, as long as they got Aaron Gordon 2.0 leading the way off the bench,
what I'm
then
saying.
they're good.
Thank you. I'm going to send you those highlight reel links. You'll be drinking the same Kool-Aid.
Sherrod,
Isn't that something? I just
baby.
I love Jabari Parker. I do, but there's Aaron Gordon.
Sherrod,
so in
the biggest reason why this team doesn't.
I love Jimmy.
Robert
Jimmy's
Williams
my dog for life, man. Jimmy's my guy for life. I don't care what y'all say. But
Well, what are they saying? All right, let's move on to the next player. Let's talk about Kemba.
Right, hold on, time out. I got to restore order here. We're going bananas.
No,
Coach Zennis, what's the call? What's the call?
No, so
Coach?
it's impossible. Look, we got to talk Kemba. We got to talk Tatum for sure. It would be ridiculous to not at least tip the hat to Steph Curry, not just for the performance. It's just, I mean,
he's been doing this.
We've watched it and he's been doing it and he does it. And then every time you're like, what could he possibly do that's going to make me think even more of him? And then he goes and does it. And it almost seems unfathomable. And people talk about it like, they were talking about him as like the most revolutionary or most important player in the last. He is. Like, is anybody, whatever? I mean, he's unreal. Brad Stevens talked about him a minute ago. We're gonna hear from Brad right now.
A lot of adverse things in the world, a lot bigger than watching Steph Curry shoot threes. So, the smallest part of me enjoys it. I just hate competing against him. But man, do I love watching him. He is as fun to watch as any player because of his creativity, his mastery of shooting, and you just never feel good when you're an opponent. You always feel like you're the next line of a.
Well done, Brad.
Next line of a fairy tale.
It's been his entire tenure in Boston. If you think about it, like he literally, as soon as he came to Boston, it was boom. Peak.
That's when it got started.
Curry season, Curry era.
But it's unreal, right? So, like, forget about, like, even basketball last 20 years, last 30 years, last 40 years, whatever you want to say. I mean, he's definitely the most entertaining player, and it's more fun to watch him hit threes from 40 feet than any friggin' dunk we've ever seen. So it's not even close there. But like in all sports, I don't know if there's anybody more exciting. Like it's just the most fun thing to watch in the world, and I can't get enough of it. It's hard to root against him. Like you almost want him to make the shots that beat your team. He's that friggin' good.
You just sit
I was
there.
thinking.
You get caught. You're just like, this is amazing. Like it goes in, and you're smiling, and you're like, wait, am I rooting for the other team? I forgot. It's not. You're not mad. You know, when Embiid scores, I want to friggin' jump through the screen. You know, and kill him. I'm so angry. When Curry scores, I'm like, that was awesome, man. You know, like
I was thinking when Luka hit that little floater shot for the win the other night, I'm like, I've never seen anything like that.
Luka's like that too. Actually, I feel that way about Luka too. I mean,
well, that's how Curry is always shot. Frankly, like when he shoots from three, it's like he's putting up a layup around the rim. It's just a touch, the touch factor. Like he's hitting a little floater in the lane, but he's doing it from 35 feet, 40 feet. And what made me notice it was when he did that behind the back left-handed hook. Because who's shooting offhand three-pointers? It was just ridiculous, that shot he hit through the and one with Grant jumping into him. That was one of the greatest shots I've ever seen in my life.
So this dude practices shots at home from the damn concourse area where they come out for games. A place that no one is ever going to ever make a shot from. Yet he practices it and he makes it a hell of a lot of time. So when he made that left-handed weird hook shot, was anyone surprised?
Yeah.
So what was
No, not at all.
That's why Kyrie's that amazing. Kyrie does that stuff too. He does all sorts of in his practice and his warm-ups. He's hitting 1 foot lefty, blah blah blah. All these creative shots that you have to hit when you're kind of doing weird stuff. You gotta try those. But Curry, exactly. He's used to shooting from 50, 60 feet, weird angles, all sorts of stuff. So I mean, you know, he gets a straight up 35-footer. He's like, this is a layup for me. You know, like.
But I tell you what though, Jayson Tatum has found that killer within. I did not anticipate that we would see this type of killer instinct consistency from Tatum right now, but damn. I mean, he's looking at all the big boys that show up in the building like Steph Curry, and he's like, what you got? I know you're great, but guess what? I'm going to get mine, and I'm going to get the W. He was great today. Great today.
He was
big
great.
shots, attacking off the dribble. He did everything you want. He did everything that you expect a top 5, top 10 player to do.
Okay, let me say one thing since I didn't get to talk about Curry. I want to say a couple things about Curry, and I'll tie it into Tatum.
You want to go back to Jabari too? Did you watch some YouTube clips of Curry beforehand?
Yeah, so I just want to say I watched the Curry YouTube clip. I think he's going to be a player. No, but there are a few players. I mean, we're all lucky enough to cover a lot of.
He's Ray Allen 2.0, right?
We're all lucky enough to have covered a lot of NBA games in our lives, and there's a few players that like. When they are in the arena, there's like a buzz about them being in the arena and the pregame and all that stuff. Steph Curry might be at the top of that list, and that includes LeBron and everybody. And I remember years ago when I was, Sherrod's right-hand man and John was doing the TV thing at NBC, we actually did like on
Curry
the
cam.
web, on the website at least, Curry cam. This is pregame. And we got a ton of people watching
Ridiculous.
Because everybody wanted to see Steph Curry warm up. I mean, he's just shooting.
It was him walking around.
Early.
Half of it was him like talking to someone. And
That's
it didn't matter. He had a ball under his arm. He's just talking to people. Then he's just dribbling lightly. Then he goes through his drills. He's got his little dribbling drill. Then his shooting routine. And we just sat there. Curry cam.
And everyone's just the goo goo gaga as he's doing it. And it was
we were
like
dipping into it live on the show, not just running it on the web too. We were dipping in and out of Curry cam the whole show. Yeah.
And like that's just the type of. And I bet you he gets that everywhere he goes. That's just the type of player he is. And when he actually does put on a performance like tonight, it just totally lives up to all the hype, all the expectations. There are some players where like it's way beyond just for like doing for what they need to do for their team. I think they actually believe like they are entertainers. Like there are like the best players in the world believe it's their obligation to show up every game for the road, for the fans. There's a lot of people who expect to see greatness from these guys, and Curry's one of those guys that more often than not lives up to that wherever he goes. And like tonight was just one of those special nights. And to tie it into what Sherrod was saying about Tatum, I think he brings that out of other players. They see what's going on the other side, and they want to match that. And, sometimes it takes greatness to sort of bring out greatness. And I think Curry definitely has that effect on a guy like Tatum, who answered the bell. All the credit in the world to Tatum tonight. They were going blow for blow down the stretch there. And the Celtics, had a very, one of their best wins of the season because of what Tatum was able to do. And of course he had some help. Kemba had that big three. And we haven't mentioned him, but Marcus Smart, that three-pointer by Marcus was unbelievable. I mean, he faked the hell out of the defender there. The guy was doing, circles on the other side of the court.
He had a big offensive rebound late.
Big offensive rebound before that.
I mean, just the balls on Marcus too, because he airballed a three horribly. That makes him one. That makes him 1 for 8. Okay, and this was a please stop shooting Marcus sort of game. And then the next trip down, he hits a huge three and then hits that really big one late too. So he hit after starting 1 for 8, he bangs down his next two. Same thing, Kemba had gone in a little cold spell and he bangs down two. So
and one of those came after
clutch by really everyone tonight.
And I think one of those came after Brad's challenge. So that was a 6-point swing, which really changed everything that was kind of going on.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You were surprised to see Brad win a challenge for once. I didn't think he was going to get it.
Well, let's get into
challenge.
Let's get into Tatum a little bit because we talked about this, right? I mean, we've talked about it a ton. The whole thing with him was getting the better shots, okay? Not settling, and driving more and doing there's no secret here that his latest run here of greatness coincides with him being much more aggressive going to the basket. Even though today he was in his bag with the old Tatum shots, a lot of in-your-face followaways and step backs. He had that going tonight too. So that's what gets you into the 45-point range, which is where he was tonight. But him just consistently going to the basket. There are sometimes he had people off balance all night. When he wanted it, he got it. If he wanted to get to the basket, he got there, and he was getting there uncontested half the time. This isn't. We've talked about the evolution. This is an evolution of Tatum's game, and one we've been dying to see. Even in his best moments, he shot great tonight. I still want to see him take it to the hoop a little bit more. Man, I mean, it is right, that makes him, virtually unguardable when he's when he's doing that and going downhill and getting buckets that way.
No question. But I think the team as a whole, just the way they've been moving the ball movement, you get Tatum gets those opportunities to drive to the hoop easier when he's doing that. And obviously he has to do that as well. So I have to credit Tatum as well with his passing, because although you may not see it in the box scores because they're not they're not turning into assists all the time, but they definitely keeps the ball moving. And you notice how his teammates will make sure that he'll get the ball back at the end of that 24-second, because they're starting to realize that. I can honestly tell, throughout the last couple of games, especially tonight against the Warriors. And I think that when you look at Marcus Smart, someone like that who obviously, he's been in situations where he tries to do a little too much, or tries to take that big shot down the stretch. Yeah, he took the big shot down the stretch, but it was a good shot because the ball, he started he got the offensive rebound to start the possession, but he's getting that ball back. It's not a couple of passes destined to be a shot like it used to be Celtics, right? I mean, that's what used to drive me crazy. Like in their mind, it seemed like ball movement just seemed, just give a couple of passes and then you can decide what you want to do after that. We're seeing 3 or 4, 5 passes sometimes during a possession, and maybe Jayson Tatum started that possession, but then he gets it back at the end of it with a wide open look, or even better, a wide open lane for a layup.
There were a couple possessions tonight where he passed out those.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say, there were a couple possessions last night where it felt like he went up jacking threes in those spots. But tonight, again and again, into the lane, finishing through contact. I almost never see him avoiding contact in the lane anymore, which was amazing considering how recently he was still doing that. Probably as recently as last postseason.
Even beginning of this year, he still gets a little scoopy, with it.
Yeah.
Instead of going strong, it's always bugged me about how he goes. He lays it in like he finishes like
turns his arms.
Finishes like a guard, like a small guy, like he's trying to sneak it by you instead of going up
like what
over
Kyrie,
you or through you.
Kemba did in this first layup. That's probably the best
he tries to get cute. Right.
Yeah.
And shield it and finesse it instead of going strong. Like you're 6'10", you're going downhill. You should be taking it at people. So him finishing strong and finishing through contact, that's the thing we've been talking about. And when he came in a little bigger this year, people are like, okay, here it is. And he still wasn't really doing it. And to me, I think it's almost a choice, which just, I'm going to do this now. And that's what he's been doing. I think it makes a difference. And I'm no doubt, Josue, the ball movement and the inside outside and, but today was just we're down all of our stars. Here's the ball, Jayson, go score kind of game. And he just did it on his own. It wasn't all ball movement. He was dribbling the air out of the ball sometimes. He was just like, screw it, I'm going to score.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That third quarter between him and Steph was crazy.
It was awesome. It was awesome. The people here did want to give Kemba his due, so let's give Kemba his due. In addition, obviously hitting the big shots, the finishing is another thing we keep talking about here. He opened it up with, that opening
that
drive
was ginormous
freaking
play,
gorgeous, right? Is Bobby on serious delay?
That's the Kemba we like. You know what? I think that's.
I think he might be.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Boot him. Boot him.
He's live on the scene.
Such a great teammate, Jimmy.
He's not even
boot him.
I know, right? Immediately, too. Immediately. Get him out of here.
Damn, Jimmy didn't even hesitate. Damn.
Boot him.
You're not Aaron Gordon 2.0. Get out of here.
Get off that Brockton Wi-Fi.
Well, I'll let you guys go crazy over Kemba.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing about Kemba. I mean, the thing that I like is that he's starting to play with a little bit more offensive oomph. He's been doing, I think, a decent job when he struggled, figuring out other ways to help. But he's actually starting to knock down shots in critical moments when they need someone to step up and do that outside of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And so that's good. I mean, that to me, that's where this team can take that next step to being a team that we all envisioned them of being this year. And that's one of the top 3, top 4 teams in the East. And Kemba's a big part of that if this is going to happen. So the Kemba we've seen of late has been really good. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they haven't really had a bunch of back-to-backs. So that's allowed him to get into a nice rhythm. Teammates get into a rhythm. And the Celtics are obviously a much better team when Kemba is in a good rhythm.
It is funny, though, because we've been praising him. It's not, and this isn't a bad thing, but we've been praising the 8-shot Kemba Walker, the 10-shot Kemba Walker, who was distributing. And tonight, you're down a couple bodies, and it's like, all right,
20?
Kemba,
I think
you got to score
tonight, right?
20 shots tonight.
Yeah.
So I mean, you want to know that he's got that gear. That's the thing is, we talk about having Kemba give the game what it needs. If you've got your scorers in there, and you need to kind of, be more of a distributor. I love that. What's so funny to me is every single writer out there, every Celtics guy wrote their Kemba Walker is playing a different brand of basketball sort of game, hit publish, boom, sat back, then Kemba goes out tonight and
that was
jacks 20 shots.
Brown, though. And even early in
I
the
know.
game,
It's just funny because, he had to, who else was going to? When Jayson was out, or some of those offensive lineups tonight were so grisly. You're just like, you knew it. When they took that lead in the third and then they got into their bench a little bit, you're like, oh God. Like
first quarter bench was hard.
That's when I started I was talking trash about Cornette. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, is this what we're gonna see? Like this guy on an island getting caught up on switches and the second unit just struggling, even with Tatum out there,
Yeah.
But we didn't see him in the second half, so that was a good.
But Kemba did everything. He had another friggin' 8 rebounds tonight. It's not there it is, shown on this graphic. Drew at least 2 charges, if not more, at least 2. He did literally everything you'd want to do.
What's the difference between tonight and him and his best last year? We're back there at this point. He's been phenomenal.
It felt like he could have gone off for 30 something at various times last year because it was more of his role to score. So it's just less so. But are you kidding? We said the other day every night you would take 14-point Kemba with 8 assists. Of course you're going to take 26-point Kemba. But they needed him. They needed everything tonight. So they don't win this. They don't win this if he doesn't do this. Right.
I'm at the point with him where I'm just not trading him at this point. It's not worth it. Like, there's nothing they're going to get that can replicate him when he gets to his best. It's going to be inconsistent. There's probably going to be ups and downs with the management at this point, but he fits so well with this team. Like, just his deferential style, his ability to pass, and then the threat that he is to these defenses, that never changes night in and night out because guys just know who he is. And so even on his worst nights, he's a massive threat to these defenses that they have to account for. And I still think he's going to have a long stretch here where he's playing at a high level. This is above what I think people expected from him this year. There were some grisly expectations after this first stretch.
It's hard to tell what next season is going to bring. I mean, I'm with you in the sense of
why?
that.
I mean, nothing's gone wrong this year.
I think Kemba's got enough in the tank for this team because we talked about it all season long because he's got 2 rising all-stars in that starting lineup. And, of course, there isn't a whole lot of pressure in the sense of he has to be the guy night in and night out. But, I mean, it's hard to say what next year Kemba's going to look like. But we've been telling you this all year, Bobby. I mean, like, that contract, even if the Celtics really wanted to, it's tough to move right now. I mean, but then again,
they can't.
But that's the point, Josue. If they were getting something great for him, sure, but they're not gonna.
Right, but even so, but either way, a solid postseason performance could change that. But it's difficult to gauge how much the Celtics are going to lose in that trade. You know, it could be a lot. It could be a lot to hand over. You know, for a lot less than what Danny's willing to do.
Yeah, the Kemba trade offseason conversation is one of 2 conversations. It's if he wasn't good enough to get to, at all, and you just literally didn't want him, you just want the money off the books, that you basically sell him. That's not the case right now. He's clearly good enough to play on your team. So the other conversation is, could you trade him for anything of value? And the answer is also no. There's no way you're going to get something as good as what Kemba is for you right now. So you're going to ride or die with Kemba probably for the next 2 years. So if you're getting anything close to the version you're getting this year for the next 2 seasons, that's fine. You're thrilled with that. So there's just no way you're moving Kemba for anything that's going to make you better. Realistically, you're going to do it just to clear the money off the books, or you're going to keep him and then hope this is what you have. And if he's playing like this, you're fine. You have no worries. Yeah,
right. Why would you? Yeah, you wouldn't. You're not trying to mess with success, as they say. It's the problem is. And that's the thing. It's
not ideal at this money to have. Ideally, that $37 million would be someone else. It's not. So at this point, you're living with it because you have to. Right.
Yeah, you take it, and the more he can give you, and the more he can sort of be a chameleon out there and give the game what it needs. I mean, I think recently he's shown that he can. So maybe that's him saying, "Hey, listen, like everyone's tossing my name in the mud right now, saying I'm just like this albatross contract and I can't play or I can't contribute." It's like. Not quite the case, I mean, like
Kemba doesn't watch the Garden Report.
Yeah, thankfully, but if he watches, ESPN, I don't know what they're saying, but I guess the point is, I think he's still showing that he has a lot of value and he can bring a lot of value to this team. So again, like you said, I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot back for him because of the money, not because he can't play, because of the contract situation. That ties up a huge amount of that value that you'll get in return. So if he's on a much lower contract, sure, you get something, but at this price, you're not. So use him for what he's good for, and that's right now. That's offense, which is certainly what they need.
See, I don't agree. I think his value is more than just offense. I think there are other things that he can do, and I think he's starting to show that. He started showing that when he was, frankly, not making shots, because that was my concern to that extent, that all he could do is offense, and when he doesn't have that, what good is he? Well, he's shown that he has value beyond just being a shot maker, and that, to me, only amplifies the need that this team has for Kemba Walker. Now, does that mean that you don't trade him under any circumstance? Absolutely not. In fact, I think Danny Ainge would be wise enough.
Oh, he's going to look.
You got to know the value of your players. You have to. If for no other reason than to know whether or not others cover them as much as you do. And if they don't, then that's something you deal with. But with Kemba Walker, you are not going to get someone who can impact the game the way he can as a scorer and be content with being the number 3 guy at best. Guys with his type of skills, they want to be the alpha or at least the Robin. Kemba is perfectly fine with being the number 3.
He's
Tatum and Brown. Exactly, and that's okay.
He's Alfred.
Because to me,
he's Alfred.
Here's the thing:
he's in the back.
if Kemba's my number 3, I'm feeling really good because there are very few number 3s that have his type of resume, his type of ability. My only concern with Kemba is the concern most people have. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy enough to get through the playoffs and be impactful there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out. But
I know.
I right now I have less concern about his health than I've had since the
You
injuries.
were early on the
There's-
apology, Jimmy. I give you credit.
Well,
Yeah,
it's less concerned about the health and more
and
concerned about.
To my credit, it was, he hasn't made me, take it back. So shout out to me for apologizing as soon as I saw that it was due.
John
right
is,
off the bat.
We're going to be 2 rounds into the playoffs. He's going to have a
me.
30-point game, and John's still going to be like, I'm worried about 2023.
I'm worried. No, look, the people in the chat, I think, not all, but some people aren't seeing it. There's a lot of chatter. No, but I'm saying there's a lot of chatter about they're never going to win with Kemba. Like, Kemba Walker is not ideal for Boston, okay? It's not an ideal fit with this lineup. He's remaking himself a little bit here, as Sherrod has said, to impact the game in different ways. He's still an undersized point guard who other teams can hunt on defense. He's a streaky shooter. He's not ideal. You in a perfect world.
I mean, yeah, but
that's not the argument we're having.
With every ideal player
the argument you're having right now is throw the salary out the window and look at the player, and the player has his value over anything else you could either get for him in a trade or anything else you would play on your team is way higher than that. He's much better than anyone else you're going to give minutes to on the Celtics over him, and anything you'd be able to net in a trade. So it's the best you're going to do right now. That's what we're saying, I think, as far as Kemba is concerned.
I think he is good enough to the reason they are in the position they're in is not because of Kemba Walker, okay? So let's get off that. I think if they're good enough to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and they're, good enough to be a game out from being in the NBA Finals, then don't tell me that Kemba Walker is the problem and they're not good enough doing them. It was a team-wide issue is the reason why this team is where they are. It's not just on one player.
Well, so
I think he is talented enough to be on a championship team, whether it's this team or another team.
That's one thing I want to talk about, actually. So prior to the game, and I know these are kind of fluffy, and the sideline reporters or the whatever reporter, Rachel Nichols does her pregame interviews with people, and she goes on the pregame broadcast and she says that the core four have had a lot of conversations recently. And that's Marcus, Kemba, Jaylen, and Jayson. And some hard conversations talking about how they have to be the leaders.
Wait, John, would you call them some difficult conversations?
Uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable?
Yes. No, I'm
Thank
bringing
you,
this. I'm bringing this right to you, Josue, because we've all discussed this. No, that they've had difficult, uncomfortable conversations. Okay. And among those things, basically the way she worded it was how everybody follows their lead and things are important and they have to be positive. And that includes how they react to things and their body language. Okay. Now, when, people like us talk about body language and attitude and they look beat and their shoulders are slumped and they're whining, it's like, oh, shut up, you guys. You're trying to make up controversy. But apparently the players themselves get together and say, that basically what Rachel Nichols is saying is a bunch of people looked at Smart and Kemba, said to Tatum and Brown, you can't friggin' pout and sulk the way you guys are because it's killing morale. Okay. You guys are awesome. You're the leaders now. You have to look the part at all times.
Yep.
You got to bring it. And that is part of it. But again, when we talk about it, we're stirring up controversy, but the players are having multiple meetings here to talk about this. But that's a big deal. One, I love that they had those meetings. Two,
Marcus relayed the message.
Yeah,
right, and that's the thing. Here's the thing.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, and we all know this to be true. It's not so much the message, but the messenger that's delivering that dictates how it's embraced, how it's received.
Right.
You saying something will be interpreted one way, but if player X from generation 1986 says the same thing, it's completely different and embraced in a different kind of way. And it's good that they're finally realizing that they need to empower one another and call each other and hold each other accountable, hold each other's feet to the fire. That is a great thing to do when you're building a championship team. That's what you do.
Right.
You don't think Kevin Garnett has had some uncomfortable conversations that Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and Ronald didn't want to hear?
Probably
I think all of his conversations
most
were
KG
uncomfortable.
conversations are uncomfortable.
I don't think he said good morning
leader.
without you feeling that he was in your face about it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Just
it's good morning
ask
if
Big
you say
Baby
so.
how uncomfortable he felt.
You gotta have those conversations.
Big
if you're
Baby.
serious about winning in this league, though.
He
You
was
gotta
very
have those
uncomfortable.
conversations.
Yeah.
You gotta have them. So I'm glad that they're having them.
Yeah,
That's
right.
great.
Well, that's the thing.
a
It's
sign-
like,
if-
it's
go
sometimes
ahead.
it takes people on the outside sometimes people on the outside can see it before you see it in the mirror. You know, you don't know.
Exactly.
You know, all of a sudden
Gosh.
you put on 20 pounds over a slow period of time. You don't know it until someone's like, "What the hell happened to that guy?" And then
You don't got to get personal with this, Jimmy. You don't
I'm
have
not
to put
looking
your
at
personal
anybody.
business
I'm not
out
looking
there.
at anybody in particular in this room. But
You don't have to get
you know
personal
who you
about your
are.
business, Jimmy.
But the point is, listen. I mean, you hear it enough from the outside. You have to actually take a look at yourself and at your team and say, listen, guys, like, something clearly is wrong here, and here's what we need to do to turn it around. At the end of the day, those players are the only ones that can turn it around, and it looks like over the last week or so that they have, something's definitely changed. They're riding good momentum right now, positive momentum, positive energy, all that stuff. You've seen a couple smiles, so that's a big thing for us Kemba Walker guys.
Smile
Is,
meter's going up.
leading the league in smiles, so that's good. You want to see happiness. Listen,
Jimmy,
it's
you
a
used to point
job.
that out.
You can enjoy your job out there.
But you know what? You want to see happiness, but you also want to see them go through adversity and see them find a way to get through that. And they've had a lot of adversity on the floor of late, and yet they're still finding ways to win. To me, that's when you made that transition from being a front-running type teams that, and we've seen a lot of those in the last couple of years in the NBA, to a team that in the playoffs, you don't know whether you're going to get down 15, 17 in the second quarter and have to fight back. If you've done that before and have found ways to win those games, it's not going to be that big a deal. It's not going to be this jarring thing that's going to throw you off your game. Teams that typically win and win going away, when they're punched in the face like that, they tend to wilt. We've seen that with the Milwaukee Bucks the last couple of years, had the best record in the Eastern Conference, and what happens in the playoffs? They become like that little slug that gets a little salt and rain thrown it and just shrivel up.
Right.
By the way, Jimmy, speaking of the weight gain,
shrivel up. Oh.
No, 42%. It was something like 50% of people gained weight during COVID. The average weight gain was 29 pounds.
There you
go.
So
you said 20.
Average.
I gave everybody a 9-pound benefit of the doubt.
That's for the people who gained. Friggin' crazy.
That's for the people watching the show being like, "Yo, did I gain 20? Did I gain 20 pounds?" In the last
Everyone's like,
Jimmy. Everyone's like, "Where's the scale? Where's the scale?"
Yo, what? I didn't know it was going to be attacked tonight. Listen, nobody in particular. It's just like sometimes you need to hear it from somebody else. Sometimes you don't want to believe it until somebody says, "Listen, man, like you might want to get your shit together. It's time. Summer's here.
Yeah.
Time to get back in the gym.
It can't be as bad as it was. Like I don't know what June. Like I don't know. Like probably like May 2020. Like when we're about 2 months in. Like everyone was pushing weight. Everyone was packing pounds.
Rightfully so. That was a depressing time. I think everyone was just like, "Screw this, man."
3 years.
Yeah, that was tough. So again, I gotta remind everybody because the
bathroom break.
This is happening sooner than later. We are gonna move over. We got a lot of people still hanging in this room, so we're gonna keep it going for a little while longer. But we're gonna trickle back. We're gonna trickle over. We shrivel and we trickle on this show.
When you get to a certain age, is that what happens?
Is that what happens?
First we shrivel, then we trickle.
This is what we're talking about over Peyton.
Okay,
Pritchard.
Boomer.
What a game!
We're gonna make our way over to Locker Room in a little bit. So if you guys haven't downloaded it, do so.
Got a little locker room talk on a Saturday night.
Yeah, and then we're gonna hang out. Little locker room talk. We want to hang out with all of you guys. So I mean, a lot. This was a
beer.
This was
Cameras
a big
are
room.
off.
We peaked at 1,700 at one point in the YouTube on just one of them, and then another 300 or 400 in another. So we've been up. I know a lot of you guys are just looking at one room, but we're coming from a lot of places here, streaming lots of places all at once. ton of friggin' viewers on multiple platforms. We want to get as many of you into the locker room. I want to break some records. Okay, we had 120 a couple nights ago. I want to see 200 people in there tonight. So
I think tonight we can do it.
Let's.
Yeah, we're going up against some big names, so we want to dominate them.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to crush them and crush their spirits and make them not want to come back into the locker room, like they're freaking unathletic dorks that aren't allowed to be in a locker room anyway. Yeah. So that's what we want to make
if there's a million in here, we can get 200 in.
Let's do it.
I'm not going to crunch those numbers, but that sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's going to happen in a little bit. But guys, get some closing thoughts on this game, and we're going to go over one of the things wanted to talk about. We'll talk about a little bit in locker room. Brad Stevens turning down 7 and 70 from Indiana.
Is that real?
Man.
I don't know. Woj. That's
from
what Woj said.
Woj.
Just said
we need
it.
to talk about this.
Yeah.
So my takeaway is if all right, did you?
I said I'm saving it for locker room.
Ah, jeez. Okay. Damn.
Go ahead. Give me your take, Jimmy. We'll
yeah,
snack
that's true.
on
I'll
it
just
right
get
now.
my little teaser take. I mean, my take is this: if he turned down that amount of money for those years, he must have a strong commitment by Celtics ownership and Danny that he's going to be around for a bit, because you don't turn that deal down if you're worried about your current job. You just don't. So I have a feeling all the fire Brad people, you can put those chants and those signs away, because I don't think Brad's going anywhere to turn that down.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I don't think it's that deep, Jimmy. I don't, and we'll get into it later.
I mean, damn, would anyone fault him for taking a 7 year, $70 million? I mean, it also tells you that maybe he's getting paid a shitload of money.
I think so, going from NBA to college.
Legacy. Brad's not going out like that.
Legacy.
This is a great
talking about legacy.
This could be a great legacy for Brad if he's able to pull this off. Whether it's next year, whatever year it happens, to make that switch to grab a championship, become an NBA championship coach, he's not giving that up. And obviously, I'm with you, Jimmy. I don't
especially
think
with Tatum and Brown.
I don't think what he's getting paid from the Celtics is way off compared to what was offered. But at the same time, I mean, even the pay raise, I don't think he's taking that, because again, it's the legacy.
I just think he feels pretty confident he's going to be able to stick around here.
No coach has ever done that before. Brad has a chance to do it.
So I believe that.
Well, that's true,
check.
Jimmy. He was never close to getting fired.
No, I know he wasn't. And I still don't think he is. Certainly not. So, again, if he felt that he was, or if that conversation should even be in and come up, and all of a sudden Indiana comes knocking on his door with a big ass contract like that and all that stuff, then I feel like maybe he would have considered it. But I just feel like he's not close to parting ways with the Celtics, which I'm fine with. We've gone on this show, and I know we've talked about on the show is being able to have the conversation that if things are going wrong, nobody's untouchable. That's pretty much what we talked about. A lot of people just turned that into fire Brad, which we knew was never going to happen in the middle of the season anyways. And since then, things have started to turn around a little bit. So, again, I mean, it's a lot of talk more than anything. But
yeah. Again, we're going to head over in a little bit. Bobby, if you're having technical difficulties here, you can jump to and come over to locker room on this a little earlier, if you want. But Sherrod and I are going to jump over in a couple of minutes. Sherrod, closing thoughts here on this game before we head over.
Hell of a game. Tatum did the damn thing. Jabari Parker, a.k.a. Aaron Gordon 2.0, according to Jimmy Tiscon.
Yeah, Jimmy, you fucked up.
You heard it here first, baby.
He ain't gonna let that one go.
Dude, that's on Twitter. I tweeted it out. That's out there. I'm not deleting it.
Can you not like a tweet?
I know.
Yeah, you have to hit the retweet button first.
That will definitely not happen.
As a test, we should hit the retweet button. Just see how much hate I get on that tweet.
You don't want that. You don't want that smoke, Jimmy. You really don't. No, this was a great game, man. This was a really good game. It had, Steph Curry had another amazing game, and they were able to withstand the storm, get the win. The only thing they can do now is try to keep it going and get more and more playing time for Aaron Gordon 2.0, otherwise known as Jabari Parker. And get Fournier back. It'd be nice to see him out there.
Yeah.
This is my optimistic take. Okay.
Oh boy.
I have.
You know how to make one?
Jimmy, who was the most bullish on the Celtics' chances last year in the playoffs?
John Zannis.
Okay,
That was a long time ago.
I know. I call it how I see it. Okay,
I know. I'm giving you shit.
My
You're
most
close.
optimistic take on this team is not that I think that they're the most talented or have the horses necessarily to beat Philly and Brooklyn. It's just that they're actually going to probably be playing at their highest level at full health just as they're about to enter the playoffs, and that's the best thing that you can say for them. I think it's you don't know what that's going to be. We're going to find it out kind of late, and they could have a Miami Heat 2.0 where everything is starting to click right at the right time. You will see it, but I'm saying I don't know if Jabari Parker has enough time to get into shape. I don't know. I don't think
Jabari doesn't matter.
This is a team that's looking for Jabari Parker to be. Yeah, like
I'm just
10
saying.
points, 15 minutes.
I'm just saying. But Fournier back post COVID, a couple weeks from now, another 5 games. You're hoping he's rolling the way he is. Of course he does. I just started with Parker.
John is saying. Well, pretty much what John is saying is the Celtics. There's a good chance that we're going to see the Celtics team. Let's say, I don't know, second round, third round, whatever. You know, game 7, they're out, and you're like, man, if they just had that continuity, if they just had a week together, couple of weeks together at the end of the season, who knows? They could have had enough chemistry to push forward.
Whether or not, I don't know if they could have, because it just might be a flawed team or a poorly constructed roster.
But you'll never know for sure, right?
But they are very likely going to enter the postseason as close to 100%, barring another freak thing that happens if it does, the season's down the toilet, like Tatum, Brown, or whatever. But as close as they're going to be all season is probably going to be very close to heading into the playoffs, which means you might be catching them at the wrong time, careful what you wish for here scenario where they could be tough. I mean, the Heat came out of what, a 6 seed last year? Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, that was just a weird bubble.
It's a weird year and a weird thing, but as I said, things can go south for other teams. I think the Celtics have gotten a ton of COVID stuff out of the way because basically everybody's had it like twice. Little injuries, nagging injuries. You've given people enough rest. You haven't done the back-to-backs on Kemba. Like I said, that's my most optimistic assessment there. Now, Sherrod, anyone send you the link yet? I want to make sure you have it before we head over. He's got it. Sherrod and I are going to head over once again, locker room, download it, come join us. These other guys are going to be a few minutes behind. They're going to continue the conversation here. Again, we got a lot of people still in the room here, so we're starting to populate locker room. Let's see where we are, Sherrod.
You didn't even get my final takeaway, and you're just going to leave?
I want your takeaway. I'm just announcing to people who are going to be leaving in a minute.
I thought you said it already, Jimmy.
I haven't got a chance to say it because John just gave us his optimistic outlook take wrapped in like a pessimistic outlook take, which was fine. It's the best we're gonna get.
That's the only way you can do it.
This. My big takeaway from this game
this suck ass team might actually be as close as they are going to be to by the time they hit the playoffs.
Yeah. My takeaway is from this game and from the last couple games, really the road trip, the compete level on this team is at a point that we haven't seen all season up until the last week or so. And that is whether it's the conversations they've had or whether it's just, the fact that they're, stringing together some wins and the guys are getting healthier, Smart's probably healthier and Tatum's maybe a little bit, further along from COVID. And I know that there's still a couple guys out, but for whatever the reasons are, these guys are fighting back. They go down, they fight back, they pull out the W. They've done it a number of times now. You don't want them to get in the habit of going down double digits every game, but it is the NBA. It's a game of runs. I don't fault any team from going down double digits at some point because teams can score in bunches now. I mean, you see it all the time. It doesn't take much for a player to get hot. Curry did it tonight. You can rip off 10 straight like anybody. So I like what I'm seeing from the competitive aspect of the team. It looks like they're playing with some togetherness, and that's pretty much my takeaway right there. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you, Jimmy. Once again, the link is here. It's in the chat. Okay. Join us. Anyone else need to get their last thought out before Sherrod and I leave?
Is Bobby with us? I don't even know.
No, I'm good.
Physically, I see him, but
it's a hologram. I don't know if that's Bobby.
I'm here.
He's here.
I'm hanging in there.
Bobby,
faint.
Bobby, are you well?
Yeah,
He
like
sounds faint.
you.
I'm gonna leave the.
I don't
extra segment
recognize
here.
that background, Bobby. Are you being held hostage somewhere? Are you okay?
JJB
Oh
is
no,
back.
I'm
I don't know.
100%.
I mean, Jimmy, unless you wanna lead this one, you can lead that one.
What? Lead what?
You know the JJB.
Oh
What we
yeah,
do?
absolutely. Yeah,
The final
gotcha,
5 minute, whatever you
gotcha.
want to call it.
You
JJB.
guys, boogie once again, guys.
The
Locker
bottom
room,
of the
locker
ninth,
room,
if you will.
locker room. Come join us right now. We're going to hang out. Sherrod and I are going to head over. So jump in there. Sherrod,
Get
give it
outta
a
here.
tweet if you
Go.
would.
Someone
We're going to
said-
leave. You
Someone
guys
said
go.
Bobby has COVID.
Bobby,
No,
I
I'm
don't
dealing
know. I
with
think
Brock and see
Hey.
don't do this. Don't do this. Go
Hey,
back to the
I
other
like
one.
this.
I can't do this one.
Oh, you don't like this one? That's right.
I hate that one. I like this one better. All right. So what I like to do is get some questions going. So I can't see them. I mean, the comments. If we get any good comments, this is
I
like a
got 'em.
little preview of locker room. This is what we do in locker room, except people are able to actually use their own voice and talk directly. But for the people who don't have it and want to ask some questions and get Bobby's responses, if he can comprehend what's going on tonight,
No,
Tice deserve a video tribute,
he's close though.
right?
He's close to video tribute status.
He'll get one. I think he will.
You know who never got one? Who came here recently that didn't get one? Wait, no, Hayward.
He didn't
Did
play. They're
Hayward
probably
come?
gonna wait.
Hayward wasn't here.
No, Hayward never came,
Almost
right? No,
everyone
someone
gets
else.
one these days. I'm almost certain he's gonna get one.
I mean, there's different levels to them. You know, Tice probably will get one that it won't be that long.
Who did
It'll
they play
probably
last
be
at home? I'm
a
trying to
mix
remember.
of him arguing about fouls that weren't fair that he should have been called for, and you know, a couple of big
Yo,
threes
Natalie,
or something.
Natalie asked if I'm going to stay awake tonight. I think so, Natalie. I don't know. It's not like we had a 10 o'clock game. Like
What's up, Natalie? Pritchard, great game. Is
those 10 o'clock, 10:30 starts were killing me.
thoughts on Pritchard tonight? I don't think that's the first mention of Pritchard in this entire show.
Pritchard,
No, I was stunned we didn't talk about him. How about those ballsy shots he was taking, like from half court? He ended up hitting one on a step back in the corner. He's getting aggressive, like more aggressive than he already was.
Yo, the audacity in the middle of a Steph Curry versus Jayson Tatum show, like really,
little cameo.
I'm a little impressed, but I'm more shocked. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
That does take. I don't know if he just couldn't read the room or he didn't realize what was going on. But it's like, yo, like we're doing a show. There's a showdown going on.
I think his
here,
girlfriend
man.
was watching or something. I don't know. Someone special, someone important was watching tonight. And he's like,
yeah,
Devontae Green
talk
back
about
as well
this
on Monday.
all night if I make this shot in the middle of what Steph's doing right now. So I'm gonna just go for it.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for that update on
watch that
Green's
pay off
return.
though. Mark my words, Celtics fans. Watch Peyton Pritchard come up with some freaking like that type of end of the game or some big three in the playoffs when you least expect it, like some sort of like Paxson setup where he's just wide open and he's gonna hit a big three. Watch.
You're on that. Josue's been on that Pritchard bandwagon all season, so I'm hoping that it happens because he's gonna have a lot of film that he can pull up that says, you know, I told you so type stuff. So I think Pritchard has it in him. I do think his time's a little spotty right now, so I don't know.
That's my big question.
What is?
Are you answering?
Is
are you
he
saying
part of this playoff rotation?
What's your question?
Bobby, what is this version of Bobby?
That's my question. Okay,
That's my question.
I'm struggling.
Your chip's loose. What's going on, man? You good?
Yeah, bro. He's these snozberries taste like snozberries. Put something else
I'm
up,
just gonna
Bob.
look for.
Oh,
I'm
you're
gonna
talking about-
handle
okay,
these
now I
questions
get it.
while you guys fire away.
Well, we can't. You gotta post them, man. I think we just lost him.
Let's see what we
Someone
got
just
here.
invited me to the UFC joint. Is that tonight? I forgot that was tonight.
Jake Paul tonight. So I've got a couple bucks on Jake Paul. This Askren guy, not to get way off topic, but we already are. This is the late night version of the show, so we kind of go off topic.
Yeah, that's what we do.
This guy Askren, I mean, it looks like he just rolled out of bed. He doesn't look prepared. It looks like he just got out of a COVID hibernation. He doesn't look ready to fight at all. He doesn't look in shape. He looks like just like your average guy that was like asked to do this fight. And Jake Paul is like,
you telling me
going
Jake
hard
Paul gonna get
for
a
it.
W tonight? He's gonna get a W, isn't he?
I think Jake Paul is going to get a W tonight. He's been training for it. And Jake Paul has way more to lose, just like on reputation. This guy Askren has nothing to lose. No one's going to remember. No one's really even going to think twice about it if he loses. But if Jake Paul loses, all the haters are going to come out strong for Jake Paul. So
if you're Nate Robinson, are you watching this tonight?
No, if you're Nate Robinson, you have severe PTSD when.
But at the same time, you know your boys. It's an awkward topic. You know what they're doing tonight. So like, do they avoid it altogether, or do they just do something without inviting him? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I think they just like he's not in the group text tonight. Like they're just
Yeah.
gonna let him do his own. Nate Robinson was a funny and cool guy when he was in the Celtics. The funny thing about it, he would walk out of the locker room every night with a Ninja Turtles backpack, like totally like didn't even think like the shell. It was like a shell.
Oh, that's what's up. That's dope.
So
I can
that was
see
like
him.
Nate Robinson's thing, and
He must have been a great interview too. He seems like that kind of guy.
he was cool. Yeah, he was a good interview. Yeah, he was a personable guy and like kind of funny. I don't know if he. I think he drove Doc Rivers absolutely crazy. And in fact,
yeah?
I would probably say I know he did, at least at certain points. Yeah, I mean, he's just that type of guy. I mean, not
Is
just
he like the class clown
like
type
on
of
the
dude?
court stuff. I think some of the stuff just kind of drove Doc kind of crazy out there. Him and Big Baby were like that little funny little tag
You mean
team.
on the court? I thought you meant off the court.
On the court, yeah. I don't really know.
I can see him being the guy that gets everyone all riled up when they're trying to focus.
Yeah, for sure. Did we lose Bobby for good?
Yeah, man, I think Bobby tapped out.
Can you see any of the questions or comments from where you're at? Are you able to post or no?
I can't post, but I can see the questions.
All right, why don't you rip a few off?
All right, let's go.
We'll do a couple more minutes. And if you guys are still here and you're sick of us, head over to the locker room app. And
someone said, "What's the over under on Tice fouls on Monday?"
5.5. That's the over under every game.
You know what? I'll give him the under because it's gonna be one of those like funny things where Celtics fans are gonna go crazy, being like, "How does Tice only have 2 fouls? Are you kidding me?"
I think ceremonial foul to start the game is due. I think that's only right that he gets called for a foul within the first 10 seconds of him stepping
just
because
as soon as he checks in or on the tip, he just gets a foul right there.
Just to make everybody on the court comfortable, like, okay, yeah, this is what we remember, Just hit him with a. Are we getting comments? Are you posting? I don't know.
Someone's throwing questions. Who do you think Jabari should get in shape with as far as him to put in the right direction? Oh, that's a great question, actually. Jabari.
What was the question?
Who do you think Jabari should hang out with to get in shape? Loosely, I'm not saying verbatim, but who does Jabari Parker need to hang out with to get in shape for this season? I mean, you want to go Legends, Celtics, right before the playoffs? I'm going KG. I know KG he's supposed to work out with somebody during the offseason. Who is it? Wendell Carter? No. Somebody help me out here. So he's working out with the prospect, either a first year or second year guy.
KG ain't helping Jabari Parker. I hate to break it to anybody.
Just the attitude, Jimmy. Sometimes the attitude is just the edge you need on defense from someone that's coming off the bench and giving you more on the offensive end than the defensive end. So
Jabari Parker.
That's the first one that came to the first person that came to my mind. So to answer your question, I'm going KG.
I'm not even going to answer the question because I have no idea. He just needs to go and he just needs to be a part of the Celtics organization, and he needs to he needs to go to the training facility. He needs to, just get enveloped in the Boston Celtics organization because this guy has been a part of some crappy organizations. No offense to any of those organizations, but kind of, and some shitty teams, bad coaching situations, coaches that didn't have any trust in him, didn't have any faith in him really. So. Right. And I think that's like one of the things that one of the reasons why the Celtics hired Brad Stevens was because of what he's able to get out of players. At least that's what we've always been told. And there's proof to that, right? We've seen many players come through here that Brad Stevens has risen their stock, from when they came to when they left. And I think that Parker fits that mold perfectly. A guy that has tons of talent. Sure, he has had he blew out his ACL. He's had a shoulder injury. He's maybe not playing the strongest defense, to put it lightly, but so a lot of that's coaching. A lot of that is your environment. And a lot of that is just, being around winning and winners and people who want to play well and be the best that they can. And I think you are a product of your environment. So if Jabari Parker has it in him, I actually think that the Celtics can get it out of him. And he has this season and next season, assuming that things kind of go well, to, sort of flip the script on what people are saying about him. I mean, this guy was literally released from the freaking Kings. They didn't even play him. They released him, and nobody was knocking down the door to pick him up. I mean, he's been out there for anybody to take, and now he has the chance to say, "Hey, you guys all screwed up. Celtics took a chance in me, and now I'm going to show you why. Why they were right and everybody else was wrong." And then next year, he hits free agency after another season with the Celtics, and maybe he turns his career back around and he signs a legitimate deal with another team, and who knows? But I think that possibility is there. Aaron Gordon 2.0, maybe that was a little much of a little stretch, maybe. But listen, fresh off of 3 YouTube highlight reels, that's what I'm going with. So that's the highlight. That's a YouTube highlight reel curriculum right there. You watch 3 YouTube highlight reels and you just go off the top with your thoughts.
So, Jimmy, throughout that whole long-winded answer, you couldn't come up with one person that's going to motivate Jabari Parker. All right, that's fine. Fair
Jabari
enough.
Parker's going to motivate Jabari Parker. We're all adults
the
here.
mirror. We'll say the mirror.
Exactly.
How about that?
Put that mirror up. Say, "Oh
All right,
my God, he's back." Speaking of the mirror,
I'm back.
Last question. Oh, Bobby's
God.
back.
You know who's gonna
Perfect.
inspire Jabari Parker? Brad Stevens.
Oh.
There you go.
Bobby
Yeah, there
Manning
you go.
will.
That's a better answer. I like that. All right, Bobby. This is perfect.
All right.
Last question before we get up out of here. Bobby, did you just come from Paul Pierce's IG? Actually, kind of ruins the question that you're back here, but the question was, did Bobby just go to KG to Paul Pierce's IG? My answer was going to be no. He was checking IDs. He tried to get up out of here quickly so he can finally get in. You know, Paul Pierce said, "Look, after you check IDs, after everyone is checked in, you can come in and party with us." So that was going to be my answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Is that where you were, Bobby?
I wish. That looked fun as hell.
Bobby's on one right now. I can tell you that.
Bobby would have been throwing ones. Would have been chilling. That would have been a fun place to be.
This is like my Jimmy LA night.
Yeah, that was an elite.
I knew they weren't going to do it, but I was just hoping at least someone would just make one little Paul Pierce crack. Like, everyone's thinking about it. Like, you're in Boston. It's a marquee matchup Saturday night. Paul Pierce would have been all over this game, man.
Oh, you would think so.
Hate
all
to
right.
see it.
We're going to head over to the locker room. John and Sherrod are going strong over there. We're going to head over there. I will say this real quick. Last thing I meant to say. I opened up 2 NBA Top Shot packs last night. 2.
Finally.
I got lucky on both drawings of the Cool Cats, if anyone's into the Top Shot, and I got 2 packs. I got Porzingis with a 400, like my serial number's 408. I got a low serial number on Porzingis. And then I got Chris Paul as my other Cool Cat with a higher serial number. So if anyone's looking for, some Top Shot cards, I also got a Jayson Tatum.
There you go.
So I'm thinking about maybe giving away a couple of them at some point, but you got to stick around. You got to follow us on Twitter. You got to follow us on Locker Room. You got to come check out our shows if you want to get some of those cards. They might just be available at some point. I got a couple other ones that I'm not that interested in. All right, we're going over to Locker Room. So thanks everybody for watching.
That's right.
I don't even know if I think Bobby's already gone. I'm just yeah, he's gone.
I think Bobby's already over there. But yeah, check us out on Locker Room, guys. If you haven't already, download the app. We're going there right now. Also, the Celtics have only lost 1 game since Paul Pierce went live on IG. So keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Little stat. All right, peace.